The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
I still like that lead-in, huh?
Yeah. Welcome to our FRC Media Channel 95. This is Table Topics. It's one more show that, as we promised, when we end up the neighborhood news, that we were going to bring a bunch of shows online, and this is one of them. I was not available a couple of weeks ago, right? when you did the show. So, John, thank you again, and I guess you're back in action again, and I love the entry. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, that was good.
That was beautiful. I mean, I can just sit in here, can replay and replay, because she did an excellent job with that.
Yeah. Excellent. It was good. I was cracking up. So.
It was a really nice opening.
I just, you know what, from the last show,
yes.
Carlos, I know you were busy at that show, but the last show, I just want to make a correction because on the last show I had said something to the effect that 45,000 people were leaving a week there. It's actually 450 people a week are leaving to go to different countries or different parts of the country they find safe. So just wanted to correct that because I was rewatching the show myself and I said 45,000. Where the hell you get that? I mean, where the heck you get that from?
So if do you want to give us, for the person that didn't watch the last show, and maybe they will be interested in looking at YouTube or the Facebook page, can you give us just an idea what you talked about?
Yeah. What happened? What the show was about with South Africa? They have a troubled past, to say the least. But what's happening there right now is there are people that are on farms. These farmers are out in the middle of nowhere. And what's been happening is they've been being attacked by folks that'll go in there and they'll rob them, and sometimes they just leave, or they'll rob them and they torture them for hours on end. Things like throwing people or throwing babies in hot boiling water. They'll rape 3- and 4-year-old children, and part of that is that there's a feeling with some sects of people in the country that if you have sex with a young person, that cures you of AIDS. So it goes back to that, but it's also just the torture of that. Mm-hmm. They'll do that in front of the family members, as you know, sometimes they're alive or they're half dead and they're doing this. So there's not a lot of public awareness here in this country. You know probably from European news that we're pretty much, everything's American here, unless like 2 million people die, then we kind of notice it. Mm-hmm. Where something happens here, 3 people die and it's on the news for 2 or 3 days, hundreds of people die overseas, and it's just not anything to look at. I wanted to bring it to light mainly because they have a troubled past, but what's been happening along with the farm murders is that the Parliament has set a plan to try to take private property away from people and expropriate it. And the Parliament voted to do that. And in August of this year, they're going to come back with a full report. So I don't think they realize that they're going to hurt foreign investment, because I know I wouldn't want to buy a house in that country or start a business in that country if the government's going to take over the property. Mm-hmm. So it's just something I think we need to look at. And there are some countries that have really taken the mantle with this. Australia has come out and said they're willing to take people from South Africa, the farmers specifically, because they're the ones that are most in danger, and let them immigrate. But what's happened, what happens is there are some folks, these farmers have been there since 1652, about the same time the Pilgrims came to this country. So their families have been there since 1650, and they're like, I don't know of any other land. This is where my family's been from. I have no connection to the Netherlands or England. So they don't want to go, but it's a good thing to know that a country would accept them. I know right now Canada, because I've read online, Canada doesn't consider them in danger. So they have to get in line with everybody else. It's not like they get any kind of special treatment.
And I believe that on that show, you showed some small videos and some pictures.
Yep.
So if you're really curious about the show that John had a couple of weeks ago, what you have to do is just go on YouTube and look for Table Topics or our Facebook page, Table Topics.
Yep.
John,
but
we got the table, and we got a bunch of topics to talk about, and we can be all over the place. We can be nationally, talking nationally, locally, internationally news. So we kind of can go in one show from a place to another. I know you have some topics that you want to talk about.
Well,
let's do it.
Well, after the last show, it was kind of heavy. I was told it was kind of heavy, which I agree.
That's why FRC Media is played that show late, so make sure all the kids are in bed, and only adults will be watching
it.
But if you're curious about the show, please go view it.
So I kind of took that to heart too, because I know it was kind of heavy and I've been following it. But I figured we're gonna, there's so much negative news lately. I figured we could kind of highlight on some positive news locally. And I can have you start with the Flint. I know you're every year you have a fundraiser for a scholarship for Cathy Assad's memory.
Yes.
So if you want to, you can talk about that.
Sure.
I think that's something great.
It's Saturday. It's Saturday, our fundraiser. As you know, we have a bunch of projects that we do during the year, and one thing that we are very proud that we started about 4 years ago was a fundraiser to dedicate or in name of the founder of our organization, Cathy Assad. This year is going to be a special event, not a happy special event, but a special event because she did pass in November 29th, and it will be the first year that we're going to do the fundraiser that actually she's not with us. But what it's $15 a ticket. We serve shrimp Mozambique or chicken Mozambique because some people don't like seafood. Chicken Mozambique comes with rice and French fries and the Portuguese roll. Don't forget the best thing, it's the sauce. With the Portuguese roll, very hot, comes straight from the bakery at the time we serve. We're gonna having takeouts from 12 to 6, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock I'm going to be delivering, because a lot of business on Pleasant Street buy food so they can have for lunch and help the cows. Our fire department always brings us a lot of people in. We sold about 150 tickets so far.
Good.
So it's going to be a very nice fundraiser, and we give $1,000 to a kid from Durfee that is going into college.
Oh, no, and that's something that a lot of people probably don't know about. So it's nice to shine some light on some of the things that are happening here.
I don't know if you saw our agenda for the month of May.
No.
We have.
Why don't you talk a little bit about that? 'Cause that's the other thing. You guys are so busy all the time.
Oh my God! We starting with the fundraiser. This fundraiser. Then we have the National Grid's cleanup, sponsored by National Grid. That's the Britton Park. Then we have the Alden Street cleanup with the South Coast Youth Court kids. Then we have the 3rd and 4th grade from Watson School. I bring them on a trolley, city trolley, and we visit the trustees, the bioreserve. Then we have the Espírito Santo School trips to So I believe the renovation of, that starts on the 12th, the renovation of the Maris Park.
Okay.
The Maris Park, we did a fundraiser last year, and we raised $2,830, which been
Excellent.
sitting in the bank account. That's for the renovation of the Marius Park. It's the last park that we didn't have a chance. We renovate all the parks in our neighborhood.
Yep.
That one is, and it was, all these renovations were done with private money or
Excellent.
state money.
Yeah.
We actually didn't ask the city to get involved.
Yeah.
It was through CDA and state. And so, yeah, very busy month for our neighborhood.
Sounds like it. I know, I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but I know you had put something out probably about a week or two ago about the park department with your carnival.
Yes, the
And,
carnival
It's kind of like a call to action, right?
Exactly. And what I end up found out, and that's we did requests because every time that we go in front of the park board, they mentioned to us that back in 1994-96 was a law that the city council approved the law that it's no carnivals in city parks. I did talk to a couple of veterans city councils, and they don't remember ever signing that. So we did made requests because we want to take a look at that law and take a look of the city councils that approved that, if it was ever approved. And if that's approved, then we can work and try to untangle that, because it's 2018, not 1996.
I mean, plus I would think, wouldn't the park department vote on that because it's under their jurisdiction? I wonder.
Yes. So what I was told was, even if the park department approved it, but never got approved by the city council, then became a law.
Oh, okay.
Became just an opinion of a park board members, not actually a regulation by the law. And I just spoke to a couple of city councils that was on city councils back in 1996, and both of them don't remember to have passed that into a law.
Yeah, and that probably would have been something you'd remember. You know? So, but you have, when's the next park board meeting?
It's Wednesday, the next park board meeting. I did post it. A lot of people been calling me, but I don't understand why the park board don't approve this. This is the best place to put the carnival. This is good for the kids. It's good for for our city. So I did send it again, and I'm hoping that people's going to take the citizen input and go there and try to get the park members to approve.
You know, strength in numbers. Actually, the week that you normally have it, April vacation, I believe they had a big one up in Seekonk at the Walmart there.
Yes,
So,
and that's another thing that I want to do is, because we keep jumping with dates, we cannot, we never know when we're going to get the carnival. So if we lock a place and they say, okay, we can bring the carnival every year to this location, then I want to get the spring week vacation because the kids are out of school. That's the week, and then every year we know that spring vacation, the carnival is in town.
And that's how you get people to come, where they know it's every year at that time. You're right. Very good, very good. But you know, I wanted to highlight that because you guys are so busy all the time. We're kind of quiet. Our group has been kind of quiet. We do one thing per, one big thing per year, and we kind of maintain the islands on Brayton Avenue. But other than that, it's been kind of quiet. It's usually the end of May. But we have a meeting tonight, so I'm going to try to run that through and see. So yeah, it's just one thing that we do.
Another thing that you are involved, or you were involved, was the tree.
And that's that's a group I wanted to highlight too, real quick. We had, you're probably aware, Mary Ann Wardell, who was she was actually the founder of the group, and she kind of stepped back over the last year or two. The new president's Tori Adams, and Mike Keene is the vice president of the group. So we're trying to keep things the way they were. It's all volunteers. I know during Arbor Day a few days ago, They planted a few trees for Arbor Day, but they were in memory of Mary Ann Wardell, and her family was there. I didn't get a chance to go because it was 1 o'clock during the day. I was working, but looks like they had a decent turnout, and it was a great thing to do in her memory. So the group is really pushed together to continue the reason why the committee was started. So there's always availability to get trees. Anybody wants them. I've been noticing a lot of trees, especially in the south end, have been being cut down. And I believe it's, a lot of it's like new owners coming in, and they just don't want the tree there.
So every tree that either gets cut or gets planted goes through that committee?
Yeah, well, as far as the cutting portion of it, we don't really have too much control. There is a tree commission that has really been kind of dormant for the last, actually since a year after its inception. I believe the mayor has put John Brandt on that committee, but I haven't heard much. I know we did get some correspondence to ask if anybody wanted to volunteer for that committee. So,
so you don't know anything about those trees that got cut at the Kennedy Park?
No, I heard that. I think that might be, to be honest with you, and I'm just speculating here, I know that they're doing a lot of work on Middle Street for St. Anne's Hospital, so I believe that they're tearing that whole road up there, and maybe they have to go a little bit on the sidewalk. But yeah, that stuff is supposed to go before the tree commission, and we were pushing for that to go through, but it's kind of like there's two people in the tree department, and they determine, whatever the park department kind of determines that. So
it's one thing that I mentioned this to the different administrations is, it's so many people willing to volunteer, and the city should take advantage of that, because you have 2 people working on the trees, but you probably have another 5 volunteers that don't mind to go there and inspect trees if they're good. Same thing with that can bring us back to tickets, and forcing like people that walk their dogs and they don't pick up after the dogs.
Oh, yeah.
So it is people that don't want to get paid. They just want to help. They want to volunteer. Why not utilize these sources to help the people that are overwhelming with work?
Yeah.
Okay. And I keep mentioning this to administrations.
Yeah. Well, Carlos, and I don't want to get too much into the local politics portion of it, but it's like the boards, right? There are, and the Charter Commission is fighting this, and I do agree with this. They put in the charter 1 person on 1 committee. That makes sense, a commission. Why do you have 1 person on 3 or 4 commissions when there are other people that could also be involved and give different output than our input, as opposed to that 1 person that are going to have the same, kind of feeling about certain things. So
like subcommittees. There's 2 people that are on that board could create a subcommittee that's led by them, okay, to help them do their work. And this subcommittee will be volunteers that understand about the issue, they know about trees, and kind of can help them. Instead of them seeing 1 tree a day, they could see 5 trees a day.
Yeah, well, the city really isn't involved, unfortunately, in doing that. The state has pretty much given a grant to the city to plant trees south of Brayton Avenue, and then toward the Sandy Beach area. So anybody that wanted a tree for free, they'd put it in front of their house. They'd even put it on their property. So that was something that went on for the last 2 years. So there were a lot of trees planted from the state. But as far as the city, I can't remember a time that they ever, in the last at least 8 years I've been on that committee, have given money for trees itself. I think they have reimbursed the tree planting committee for different things, mulch and stuff like that. But I can't remember in my recollection a time that they had said, here, we're going to plant these trees with you guys. Here's 10 trees or 20 trees kind of thing. So so we'll see. I know. I have the issue with that, and I even have the issue with the CPA. The CPA committee is something.
Which is coming up for votes again, right?
I want it to continue.
This year or next year?
I think it might be next year.
Next year.
I want it to continue. However, and this is only my opinion itself, I don't want it to go toward private companies, you know, or private owners. That was not in the intent of that program. The intent was to keep, you know, old buildings, and that would be city buildings, fix them up like the Bank Street Armory. Who would have a problem with that? It's an old building. Or to fix playgrounds, make trails. I personally don't want my tax money going to renovate someone else's property.
Yes.
I don't think that was the intent. I have property, I renovate it.
Yeah.
So shouldn't everybody else, you know? And I think, and I went before the committee and mentioned that to them, that I don't think that people,
Well, back on the first year, when we got denied for the DeVol school, and $200,000 went for AC for the museum, we were total against it. You know, I mean, this is not what this money was supposed to intend to be. And then was more donations, was more people got away, like on the project on Rock Street, and more and more and more. And we kind of that just, you know, lost the interest. Pretty much. We did voted for. I believe was a very good thing for the city to have it. But it's just the way the money starts being split that we didn't.
And I think it's kind of like anything that starts somewhere. Everybody tries to deviate back and forth between it. I think the program's great. I'd like to see it stay, but I'd like to see
more strict.
More strict, saying that this is what the intent was. It's not the intent to give money to private, you know, companies to to renovate that building. I don't think many people afford that.
Because this way, you buy a historical home, and guess what? You need a new roof. You go to them. You go to money because
and we increase the value of your property.
Exactly.
You know,
no, I don't think.
So
it's right.
I think that's the committee's got to look at that. So hopefully they will. And two other groups. The Bank Street neighborhood has a community garden, and I've worked there a couple summers. I worked last summer for a little bit. It is something that's really great. How it was an eyesore of a building. They knocked that down, and they got a lot of volunteers in there to make vegetable beds, and they have a seating area. So it's really,
that was a long project that you know took that neighborhood a few years to accomplish, because they had to wait for the house to be demolished. Then I remember the land was there stuck for a year until I think was Cesar that finally
did it,
gave the land to the neighborhoods. So I mean, it's been a long process, but I'm happy that last year they finally did what they're supposed to do with the land, and now it's nice to keep up with that.
And I think just in an area that's congested like that, it's nice to have some room spread out. That it's not another big house there on top of another one.
And that's a very good education for kids if we want to. Because kids need to learn that, you know, it's a good thing to plant and make it grow, so we can eat. Exactly. And the last group people have probably seen a lot on Grew Up in Fall River. It's Citizens for a Cleaner Fall River. I just noticed, I think it was last weekend, they did a cleanup. Was it in the Corky Row, I think? I think it was in the Corky Row. And they did an awesome job. We all know that's like backbreaking work. And unfortunately, there are times you go back a couple weeks later and people just mess it up, and it's very frustrating. But no, they've been around for a couple of years now. I believe 3 years. I think they were formed during the recall. And they stick together and they say, let's keep going and put our good efforts into something to benefit the city. And they kept going, and they're doing an excellent job.
So kudos out to them.
Yes, definitely. One thing that I like to, and we have about 5 minutes to finish, one thing that I would like to mention is I'm on the process now to, and will be on the agenda Wednesday, the park board agenda is our neighborhood decided to put 5 movie nights during the city.
Wow.
So we're looking for funds. I'm not putting the eggs all in one basket, like we used to say. If the Lafayette Park gets approved for the carnival, we will use the funds for 5 movie nights.
Oh.
And another project that we have is the CDA. We ask CDA for some funds to put the movies.
Oh.
So it's a very good chance. It's a 99% chance that we will get money either way to put 5 movie nights around the city. Will be 2 in June, 2 in July, and 1 in August. The parks will be Lafayette, Griffin, North Park, Kennedy, and Maplewood.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Good.
So we identified those parks being on the center of big neighborhoods that people can just walk there, and it is expensive. The cost probably is going to be around the $3,500, but I think we can do this. And again, we always look to the entire city to benefit, not just our neighborhood. I'm glad and I'm happy that we're gonna do that. And so it's one project after another, and we keep adding into the agenda. You know.
So are you in charge of doing all these movie nights like you did a couple of years back?
Somebody has to do it.
Oh, Jesus.
Somebody has to do it. You know, I mean, I don't mind. It's going to be a busy summer, and on top of that, the bus trips and the fundraisers, and it's a never stop. But I'm so happy. I'm using my time the best way I can. And that's what Cathy said was the legacy. The Flints have a legacy. I just hope that when I'm gone, that somebody picks up my my bag and keep going.
I'll have to get you a key to the city, right? So you can lock up when you leave. But, I had a couple other national topics, but I didn't realize we talked that long.
We're going to have to have those at the next. Michelle is giving me 2 fingers.
Yeah,
2 fingers.
That'll be the next.
That's victory, though. That's victory.
The next show will have to be what's going on in the country right now.
Sure,
all the different things.
Exactly. Nationally, I would like to. It's been a while since we don't talk about Trump and all of that. It's always a topic that I like to. Yeah. I have to say that I was not a Trump supporter. I learned to identify the issues that he's trying to resolve, that need to be resolved, and he tries to get it done his way. I identified this. I can identify accepting a lot of things that he's doing. But Trump is Trump, and he does his way. And that's the part that the majority of people don't like, is the way he says, not being that political correct.
Yeah, and he's not a politician. He wasn't a politician. He was a regular businessman, and he was just very upfront, sometimes abrupt, probably not the best language at time, but there are times I look back, Carlos, and say, all right, look what happened over say the last 8 years, the last 15 years. Everybody was super proper, but nothing got done. I mean, today on the news just broke, and I know we only have a few seconds, but look at the Iran deal. Israel came out and said that the Iranians have been basically still moving forward with that. We gave them millions of dollars, and look what's happening. So I think it comes to a point that you got to get tough and say, look, we're not going to deal with this anymore. You know what I mean? This is our country. Everybody else has their own country.
And Christmas, you are going to be giving visas at the Mexican border. Oh, I know that. I know that. He's going to make Americans proud. And I see you guys in 2 weeks.
Yeah, see you later.